Hi, we're going to look at nth roots. Nth roots are when your index is not always exactly 2, like you have up here. So starting with the 2's and then working our way over. So an index of 2. If you do not see a number in that little v in that index spot, the number is a 2. It's default. It's always there. You don't always have to show it, but it exists. Okay, so I want to find a number times itself to give me 121. Well, I know 11 times 11. So my answer, what gets repeated twice? 11 got repeated twice. X to the fourth, I'm looking for something that gets repeated. X squared, what got repeated twice? X squared. Y to the sixth, I'm going to say y and y. 3 and 3. Add the exponents, you get that 6. Y to the third. Okay, so we know how to do that. What's the difference here? Well, now we've got this plus minus out front. All that means is I start with a plus minus, I end with a plus minus. Nothing really changes. Likewise, if I start with a negative out front, my answer will have a negative out there. Well, I thought we weren't allowed to have negative answers. That's only when negative's inside the radical. Here it's outside. It's like I'm doing everything inside. Let's bring that negative over for the ride. So let's bring the negative over. What two numbers multiplied together give us 49? Well, 7 times 7. And then what two things multiplied together to give us x to the 11th? There is none. We got to break this up into two parts. So I'm going to say x to the 10th, x to the first. Now both of these are under that square root still. I just kind of made it look a little different. Now I can break up x to the 10th, which would be x to the 5th. And just keep in mind, each time we're just cutting these exponents in half. We're saying 4 divided by 2, 6 divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 gives us the 5. And then this one I can't do, so I leave it inside the radical. Now, this next one, we've got parentheses. This confuses us. Why don't we like this? It's scary looking, but it's not. We have to go back and say, I'm looking for something times itself. Well, if I did this, I've got x plus 3, because remember, the exponent of 2 here says I've got two of those groups. Now I'm asking, what gets repeated twice? In this case, it's just x plus 3, and that's your answer. It's that group that got repeated twice, so we don't need to do anything else. Does it get any scarier when you have a more complicated parenthesis and a higher exponent? No, we're following the same rules. What gets repeated twice? So I've got this big ugly group, say twice, and then I'm splitting the exponents up. So we're left with x squared plus 17. That group to the third power got repeated twice. There's your answer. Now, what about when we're dealing with other indexes? Something like 3, 4, 5, or so on. Well, those same rules still apply that we're doing over here. Instead of saying what number gets repeated twice, I'm looking for what gets repeated 3 times in this case because of the index. So what 3 numbers multiply together give me 8? 2 times 2 times 2. 2 and 2 is 4. 4 and 2 gives us 8. What got repeated? 2 got repeated. How about the x's? Well, I need 3 x's. I need all of the exponents to be the same and add up to the 6. 2, 2, and 2. 2 plus 2 plus 2. What got repeated? X squared. Y, same thing. I want 3 y's, all the exponents to be the same, adding up to give me 12. Well, 4, 4, and 4. What got repeated 3 times? Y to the 4th. Is there an easier way of doing it? Kind of. I could say 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. 12 divided by 3 gives me 4. We can use that same thought process down here with an index of 6. So what gets repeated 6 times? Well, x, we're going to say 36 divided by 6 gives us 6. Y, 24 divided by 6, 4. Done. Call it a day. Now, when we have a negative underneath that square root, usually we say, can't do it. Or imaginary numbers, complex numbers. It's sometimes when you have an index that's greater than 2, you're allowed to do something. And in this case, we're allowed to do something. So I'm looking for a number times itself 5 times to give me 32. In this case, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 16 times 2 is 32. Okay, we know 2 5 times is going to give us 32. What about the negatives now? What if I say negative and negative, positive, positive and a negative, it's a negative, another negative is positive, one more is going to give us a negative. So if I do negative 2 5 times, I'm going to get this negative 32. So negative 2 is going to be part of my answer. So we're allowed to get a negative answer here because that is something that's not 2. Now let's go the same rule that we did down here. 36 divided by 6, 24 divided by 6. What's 15 divided by 5? A to the third. And can we have ugly parentheses and big exponents underneath? Sure. We're going to follow the same rules we did over here. So now we're looking for what gets repeated 3 times. So we could go about, put stuff in here, and throw some exponents up. 8 plus 8 plus 8 gives us 24. Okay. But how else can I do it? Well, 24 divided by 3. That gives you the 8. What's that group? Well, 5x minus 9. The only thing that's changing is that 8, and I'm not doing anything with the big ugly parenthesis. And that is simplifying nth roots.